Original essay. If there is one custom that might be assumed to be beyond criticism, it is the custom of shaking hands. But it seems that even this innocent and amiable practice is upon its trial. A heavy indictment has been directed against it in the press on hygienic grounds, and we are urged to adopt some healthier mode of expressing our mutual emotion when we meet or part. I think it would need a pretty stiff act of Parliament and a heavy code of penalties to break us of so ingrained a habit. Of course, there are many people in the world who go through life without ever shaking hands. Probably most people in the world manage to do so. The Japanese bows and the Indian salams, and the Chinese make a grave motion of the hand, and the Arab touches the breast of his friend at parting with the tips of his fingers. By comparison with these modes of salutation, it may be that our Western custom of shaking each other by the hand seems coarse and bucolic, just as our custom of promiscuous kissing seems an unintelligible indecency to the Japanese, to whom osculation has an exclusive sexual significance that we do not attach to it. In the matter of kissing, it is true, we have become much more restrained than our ancestors. Everyone has read the famous passage in Erasmus's letters, in which he describes how people used to kiss in Tudor England, and how, by the way, that learned and holy men enjoyed it. He could not write so of us today. And there is one connection in which kissing has never been a common form of salutation with us. Masculine kissing is an entirely continental habit, chiefly cultivated among the Russians. The greatest display of kissing I have ever witnessed was at Prince Kropotkin's house. He was then living at Brighton on his 70th birthday. A procession of aged and bearded Russian patriarchs came to bring greetings, and as each one entered the room, he rushed at the sage, flung his arms about his neck, and gave him a resounding smack on each whiskered cheek, and Kropotkin gave resounding smacks in return. This is carrying heartiness too far for our austere tastes. I do not think that Englishmen could be bribed to kiss each other, but I cannot conceive that they will ever be argued out of shaking hands with each other. A greeting which we really feel without a grip of the hand to accompany it would seem like a repulse or a sacrilege. It would be a bond without the seal, as cold as a stepmother's breath, as official as a typewritten letter with a typewritten signature. It would be like denying our hands their natural office. They would revo. They would not remain in our pockets or behind our backs or toying with a button. We would have to chain them up, so instinctive and impetuous is their impulse to leap at a brother hand. No doubt the custom has its disadvantages. We all know hands that we should prefer not to shake. Warm, clammy hands, listless, flaccid hands, bony, energetic hands. The horror and loathing with which Uriah Heep filled our youthful mind was conveyed more through the touch of his hand than by any other circumstance. It was a cold, dank hand that left us haunted with the sense of obscene and creepy things. I know the touch of that hand as though it had lain in mine, and whenever I feel such a hand now, the vision of a cringing, fawning figure damns the possessor of it in my mind beyond reprieve. It may be unjust, but the hand-clasp is no bad clue to moral as well as physical health. "There is death in that hand," was Coleridge's remark after parting from Keats, and there are times when we can say with no less confidence that there is pollution, or dishonesty, or candor, or courage in that hand. Some personalities seem to resolve themselves into a handshake. It is so eloquent that it leaves nothing more to be discovered about them. There is Peaker, the publisher, for example, who advances with outstretched hand and places it in yours as though it is something he wants to get rid of. It is a cold pudding of a hand, or a warm pudding of a hand, according to the weather. But cold or warm, it is equally a pudding. What are you to do with it? It obviously doesn't belong to Peaker, or he would not be so anxious to get rid of it. You can't shake it, for it is as unresponsive as a jellyfish, and no one can shake hands heartily with a jellyfish. Handshaking must be mutual, or it is not at all. So you just hold it as long as civility demands, and then gently return it to Peaker, who goes and tries to get someone else to take it off his hands, so to speak. And at the other extreme is that hardy fellow Stubbings, the sort of man who hails you Tom or Jack, and proves by thumping on your back how he esteems your merit. Abner. But he does not thump you on the back. He takes your hand, if you are foolish, enough to lend it to him, and crushes it into a jumble of aching bones, and shakes your arm well nigh out of its socket. That's the sort of man I am, he seems to say. Nothing half-hearted about me, sir. Yorkshire to the backbone. Jannock right through, sir. Oh, torture. And I'm glad to see you, sir. Another jerk. He restores your hand, a mangled pain, and you are careful not to trust him with it again at parting. And there is the limp and lingering hand that seems so overcharged with affection that it does not know when to go, but lies in your palm until you feel tempted to throw it out of the window. But though there are hands that make you shudder, and hands that make you writhe, the ritual is worth the occasional penalty we have to pay for it. It is the happy mean between the Oriental's formal salam and the Russian's enormous hug, and if it has less dignity, then it has more warmth and more of the spirit of human comradeship. We shall need a lot of medical evidence before we cease to say with the most friendly of all poets, Joro